Hey everybody, it's Janice with Creating Through Chaos, and we're going to start this project off with this thrift store frame that I found. And somebody had put some dried flowers in there, and they just lost all their color. So I'm going to pull those off and out. And I'm trying not to pull this too hard so they don't fly everywhere because they are really dry. So once I have that all pulled off, I'm going to set that aside, and I'm going to sand down the backing just to get some of that glue off that they used and kind of make it a little more smooth. So once I have that all done, I'm going to put a nice coat of white chalk paint on there. And you could do a second if it's needed, but this didn't need it. So one good coat of chalk paint. I want the background nice and bright, so when I decoupage on it, you will have that bright white background to work with. So I'm going to get that all painted, and then I'm just going to set that aside to dry. So once that was set aside to dry, I'm going to take the frame and I am going to give that a couple of coats of this celery colored paint. It's like a sage green color. It's just a really pretty color. And as I said, I did do 2 coats, but I let it dry completely in between each coat. And especially with chalk paint, you want to make sure that it's fully dry before you add another coat on, or else it gets like this sticky, gooey feeling. So once that was all dry, I'm going to set that aside and I'm going to start working on the back. And as you can see, my paint kind of crackled because I used chalk paint. And you know what? I kind of went with it because I liked the way that it looked. And that was a total accident. It wasn't supposed to crackle, but I think it crackled because the glue that was under it wasn't fully taken off. So when I put the paint on, it made it crackle, which is fine because it kind of matches the project that I'm doing. So I'm going to take this napkin and I pulled it down to 1 ply. I added some Mod Podge to the backing, and then I'm just going to kind of cut my napkin down to size. And then I'm going to lay the birds on here so that you can see both of them. I'm just going to lay it on and then just kind of smooth it out with my hands, making sure that there's not any wrinkles or very minimal wrinkles. Once I have that on there, I am going to just set that aside to dry. And I'm going to start working on my frame. I grabbed my hand sander and I just took the sandpaper off of it. And I'm going to use this sandpaper with my hand and just kind of distress this frame. So I went around and distressed all the areas that are raised on the frame. And you can't really tell from the video, but there's like a beveled edge around the whole thing. So I'm going to get all of that with the sandpaper and just kind of go around and really distress this and pull some of that brown from the frame back through. So you can take off as much or as little as you want, or you cannot do this part at all if you don't like the distressed look. Once that was all distressed, I'm going to set that aside and start working back on my birds. And I'm just going to put my sandpaper back on my hand sander and then just sand off all of the excess. And once I have that all sanded, I'm just going to take some antique wax and go around the edges. And then I kind of brought some into the middle. You're not really going to be able to see the edges, but it kind of gives me a good starting point of where I want to start pulling in. Then I'm just going to kind of rub across the whole thing. And as you can tell, I had hardly any antique wax on this. And then you can just take a wet paper towel or a baby wipe and kind of wipe off the excess and kind of move the wax around. And then I'm just going to pop this back in its frame, and how absolutely cute did that turn out? How cute would this look on like a gallery wall? I love it, and I don't think it's just for spring. I think you can use this year round. I hope you enjoyed this project. I hope it inspires you to make one, and as always, don't forget to spread the chaos.